So that wonderful monologue that I just did only went out over our audio stage, but now we are on to our StreamYard stage. So welcome aboard to another edition of the JP Peterson Show here. Sorry, Nick is away, so I missed hitting the premium button there, but we got some of it on. We'll get back to it a little bit later on. Let me bring in my good friend TJ Reeves before I screw this entire thing up. What's up, TJ? How are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm here to help and assist. You did a fantastic job. And for those that didn't hear it, I'll give them the Cliff Notes version. The Wander Franco story isn't going away anytime soon. It's got multi-layers. It's got more questions than answers. And what I am fascinated by, to pick up on your point, they played really well last night in San Francisco for what it's worth.
Yeah.
And you wonder if this is addition by subtraction. I certainly don't cover that team and I'm not around it, but I've heard from more than one source, he's not well liked at all in that clubhouse. Wander Franco, we're talking about.
Yeah.
So does this team maybe relax a little bit and play better and play more loose in the short term? And last night was just an early sample, an early indication that maybe that's going to be the case on this road trip. And who knows how long that lasts, but I just thought I would add that in. I thought the monologue was outstanding, even if everybody didn't hear it there at the very beginning about not getting a bat at the deadline and you need the depth, etc. Those are the things you were saying. But what do you make of I've said this all the time doing what we do, that sometimes it's addition by subtraction. If there's problems or distractions, sometimes that helps when those go away.
Normally, I think I would agree with you, but his talent is so overwhelming, right? And what he has been able to give this team over the last month, batting .411, I think it's been in just ridiculous numbers over the last month offensively on a team that really, really struggles offensively. But they didn't last night. Interestingly enough, Basabe, his replacement, got a big two-run RBI last night. That was a big deal, especially early in the game. Curtis Mead had 3 hits last night. It was a bullpen day for San Francisco. San Francisco wasn't their elite pitchers, but still, you like to see 18 hits. It was a season high for hits, I believe. So yeah, maybe that is a little weight. And I didn't hear Glasnow say it, but I read some of the quotes. And to your point, there seemed to be a little tinge in that maybe we're going to free ourselves up a little bit here. The clubhouse gets a little bit more tight. There's no question that, even though the Rays may not want to acknowledge this, but we have heard of the friction between Wander and Randy. We know that's a thing. And it's not just Randy Arozarena, by the way. And Wander Franco has not come into his rookie seasons and his big league life in a demure way whatsoever. He bought a Rolls Royce, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. He is not a person who will that you won't notice. He is not a wallflower. And to a lot of people, especially in baseball, that's not how you do it. We know about the unwritten rules, right? That's not how you do it. You come in, you have your place as a rookie. And I'm not saying that's what everybody has to do, but it's certainly has rubbed people the wrong way. And now for the Rays to go to the level of having to suspend him, I mean,
that's right.
And going public, with the he's not a good teammate type deal. I mean, these are extraordinary steps to take for a young player.
Well, what it says to me, and you've been doing this for a long time too, we both have. It says to me that maybe veterans were trying to get through to him and that wasn't working. And it basically became this guy, we got to send him some kind of message because he's a divisive figure right now. Again, all of this is just conjecture, but you can connect some of the dots with what you just said. You're sending one of the star players home, go away for 2 days, get away from us for a couple of days and reevaluate what kind of teammate you're going to be on hustling, on not hot dogging, on getting along with the other guys in the locker room. And I think part of it is with the great start they got off to, a lot of these guys realize this is the chance to maybe win something significant and get paid more when we don't make very much. And here you have somebody that's living it up because he's already cashed in big time at a very early age, and he doesn't appreciate that we're not in his situation. We're not guaranteed to be here in 2025, as you know, JP. It's not guaranteed that we're going to be in contention next year or in 2025. What about this year? What happened to right now? and doing it the right way and trying to win right now. So we'll see. You still got what, 40 something games to go here. Yep. Can they do any damage in the playoffs as it currently stands? A lot of people are skeptical about that, but we'll see. And look, you don't want to get too far ahead of all of this, but these are very serious allegations. And if it continues to come to light that you're talking about underage girl and charges and things like that, it's fair to say he may not play another game this season. You have to be ready for that possibility, depending on how it progresses. Innocent until proven guilty. I watched your show for a while yesterday, and you kept saying that. You got to take his side of it. Again, I was having flashbacks. And we're going to tie this into the Bucks here in a couple seconds. But when I saw the Instagram video in Spanish of him sitting in the clubhouse when they basically said, okay, you need to go home. He left the dugout on Sunday. He's in the clubhouse on social media on his phone refuting the charges that had come up. That is flashing me back to who? Antonio Brown and MetLife Stadium against the New York Jets. And I was right there. And we'll get into that whole story again if you want. Yeah. Because we're still doing the game and doing the broadcast. And people are telling me he's on the internet right now in an Uber outside the stadium, and in an Uber, he's on the internet talking about the whole situation. This is how surreal and crazy it gets. And here it is again with Wander Franco from Sunday.
What a great point. And his teammates are walking by. Clearly they have knowledge of the situation on Sunday. And this was another thing I pointed out yesterday, to have Kevin Cash go out there after the game and say, this was just a normal day off. I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge deal, but I don't think Kevin Cash wanted to do that. There should have been a spokesperson he should have said, we've got Eric Neander or Peter Bendix is going to speak to these, to the allegations or what's going on with that, to just, I don't think that was well played by the organization.
I agree with you. You can't put him in the position while he's been managing the game and doesn't even really fully understand what's going on to be the only guy that's going to talk about that. And then you release like a paragraph later that night about the situation. That was a bit strange because it's unfair to him. He's a tremendous manager and has had a lot of success. And I am told that right after that scrum where you saw him being asked the question, he left immediately after that in uniform, and they went to have a powwow with him still, Kevin Cash, in full uniform, I'm sure for him to go, what exactly is going on? I've been managing the game. Somebody want to help me out here, and why am I the one answering for this right now?
He shouldn't have been. And here's another thing, and I wanted to get some perspective of the Dominican legal culture. So I talked to a couple of former baseball players, one of them who grew up in the DR. And I don't want to say this flippantly, but his feeling was, look, Major League Baseball players in the Dominican Republic are royalty. They're royalty. And they have a feeling that they can do whatever the hell they want to do, and there will be no repercussions. That is an undertone to the culture in the Dominican Republic. And I'm not saying I'm not saying this makes it right. That's not what I'm saying. My point in saying it is, if you're a Rays fan and you think that this is going to derail his career, the message to me was, that ain't happening. That ain't happening.
For what reason would this not derail it, according to who you talk to? That they'll make it go away? Is that the implication?
Even this country, if you have money and you have power and you have prestige, you don't go to jail. Or you don't even get tried for things. You don't even get indicted for things if you have the power to do so. And these Major League Baseball players, Major League Baseball in general, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of influence, there is a lot of power to, and I don't want to say this flippantly, I don't want to say this disrespectfully, and we don't even know if the charges are true, by the way. And this is a huge thing. We have already seen that there are extortion parts to this story.
Yes.
And you start talking about extortion, okay, where they've been demanding $200,000 and Mercedes and whatever, the mother, this is allegedly true. When you see these reports as well, that is a huge red flag. That is the first thing that you say, okay, All right, now let's wait a minute here. So is this a money grab? Is this something that is being fabricated? So there's a lot going on here, and the last thing we should be doing is convicting Wander Franco of anything before the truth is known, and the truth is going to be a murky one. I'll just say that. And from what I've heard about how these things are taken care of, I would just say if I'm a betting person, this is not going to affect his long-term career. I hope what it does is wake him the hell up, that there are serious consequences to your behavior, no matter what the dalliances were, if they were serious in nature or whatever, you don't mess around with stuff like this. This is ridiculous. If as a professional baseball player, people are coming after you all the time. I mean, this is something that certainly his mentors or whoever's mentoring has warned him against, and maybe he didn't heed those warnings. But I would just say, from what I've been told about the culture and the legal culture down there, this particular person would be shocked if his career was permanently in any way, in other words, that he would do any jail time or there would be any serious legal consequences. It may happen. I don't know, but this is just what I'm relaying to you about someone that's way more in the know than I would be.
But bring it back to this situation. How quickly is that resolved by Major League Baseball? How quickly is it resolved for the Rays season? You don't know these things. We're dealing with it in real time. You don't know if this is going to take a week. Right. I would doubt that he's completely cleared of all of this in a week. We don't know. But could this drag on? And how big of a distraction does it become if you start winning games again and you're right there in the thick of trying to win the division and get a bye and get a home field advantage situation? So more to come.
To your point, if this team gels from this, and that's not
which happens
probable, right? If this team gels from this, and Wander is, available to come back, I mean, obviously he's a supreme talent, but then at that point, you really want to reintroduce him to the locker room. And I think a bigger question here, TJ, long term, is this who you want as part of your franchise? I mean, you've signed him to a 10-year, $182 million contract, or 11 years. I mean, do you want him to be the cornerstone of your franchise now if you're the Tampa Bay Rays? Does the community want him to be a cornerstone of this franchise? These are now, questions that have to be asked within the organization. So I think long term, and your point, how long does it take to get this resolved? I don't know that. Probably, I would think longer than a couple of weeks. But we saw with Ian Cole and the Lightning, that didn't take very long. Those were allegations made on Instagram that turned out to be completely false. And he's exonerated. He came back and he played as it should be. Same thing could happen with Wander right here. So, especially when extortion is involved, that's my expectation, honestly, that he will be cleared. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens, but it's the Rays.
It isn't dull.
No,
it isn't dull right now, keeping up with and talking about the Rays. That's for sure. And they're still very relevant right now down the stretch run of the season.
And I've said, without Shane McClanahan, without Wander Franco, they're not going anywhere. And I still believe that. But
probably not.
Last night's, performance by Tyler Glasnow was impressive. Coming off injury, extremely impressive. 13 swings and misses. They win 10-2. They get 18 hits. He was phenomenal. Against a very good San Francisco Giants team that's right in the playoff hunt. They're in the wild card right now. That's good news.
So again, we can root for the team in the situation, and I root for all the teams here in the area, and we'll see if and when the Franco situation is resolved this week, next week, if it's resolved, and what do they do? And the one other thing, and I know you want to talk Buccaneers, and then we'll scramble on, is who is the leader? Who are the leaders or two that will take back charge of this situation with him and say, this stuff has got to stop. Being a distraction's got to stop. Being a better teammate's got to happen as a leader in that room. And I can't speak to who that is, but somebody's got to take charge in that clubhouse, as they call it in baseball, as a veteran, because this team has a chance to do some damage in September and October right now.
Well,
You're there on the cusp.
Yandy is the elder statesman, right? But Yandy is a very, very quiet man. He is not a demonstrative leader in any way, and nor would I put him into the upper echelon category of, major league players that are, universally, as a big time major leaguer that's been around that people would look up.
But still, he's been on the team several years. He's been an all-star. He's older. And if it's not him, who else is it that can step forward and say, as a leader, we're going to set the standard, the culture, the importance of teamwork, of hustling, and all of that. And maybe that's what they were trying to do earlier, and it wasn't getting through. But
I was, this is why at the deadline, I was like, not only do we need to bring in a Paul Goldschmidt or someone like that has the gravitas to do that. And there were a few players that may or may not have been available to fill that role. I thought it was absolutely essential that they get a big bat and a veteran voice in that clubhouse for just this reason. They need it. They need it dramatically. They need that Kurt Floyd type of player that could come in here like he did in 08 and be that guy. You need a clubhouse.
Cliff Floyd, Kurt Floyd, famous for free agency. Cliff Floyd, the veteran 08. Great reference on that. Yes.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Pink Floyd or Floyd Mayweather or Pretty Boy Floyd the Gangster or any other Floyd. I'm down with you on a Tuesday, Little. Just having fun. Floyd Little. Yeah, right.
One of the great Floyds. I think there was a Floyd in Mayberry RFD, wasn't there?
That's true. Yes.
If there was, there should have been.
All Floyds.
But listen, this is a team that has talent, but it really, I don't see the.
But you bring up a great point, and I know this is like the dark ages for Rays fans, but when they got really good in that 08 season, where you had Longoria and you had BJ Upton help me out. You had Delvin Young. You had like 3 or 4 young players. A Cliff Floyd was a veteran, a former all-star, and you got Carlos Pena. You got to have those guys. Yeah. You got to have those guys that understand when it's winning time, when it's the most important time of the year. What's the standard? What's the culture? Hustle. We shouldn't be talking about hustle. We shouldn't be talking about hot dogging and Cadillacing. In September and October. Amen.
I think a strong, Latin influence would go far for this team. Because I think these Latin players, they gravitate towards Latin players and they look up to the older Latin players. And I think that's what this team really, really needs. Especially, he needs a mentor that he universally respects. And I don't think there's one on this team right now. In fact, he's got more bad blood with Arozarena. Manuel Margot might be that guy, but he's another, very quiet guy. And not, you got to be a guy that's been around the league for a while to get that type of that respect. And, I think that's something that they're desperately missing. So we'll see how it goes down the stretch. But I'm concerned for this team because how much they've lost and did not add. All right, let's transition over to the Buccaneers, my friend, as the sideline Buccaneer man joined us here. First of all, let me get your take from the sidelines on what you saw on Friday night. I went back and watched the tape, and I was even more impressed with Baker Mayfield watching the tape. I thought he made all the right decisions. He was very protective of the football, took chances when he needed to, like on that touchdown throw, which was
tremendous. Yep, that was right in front of me.
That was a professional throw, the trajectory of that ball, the anticipation, and Trey Palmer's catch of that football. Let's not diminish that in any way. That was a big-time throw in a big-time situation. 3rd and 6 in the red zone when you turn a field goal into a touchdown with individual excellence like that, that's playmaking, that's difference-making.
Well, and there's the experience of having played for the last 4 years plus and having played, it started over 60 games and having led a team to the playoffs and won a playoff game. You saw composure. You saw him on the run. I know you guys were talking about this on the show yesterday, the mobility, the ability to throw on the run. And even that throw was a rollout, set your feet. And again, I get a privilege of being down there that close. I was on about the 5-yard line. So my vantage point was looking right here at Baker, here's the ball in the air, and I spot receiver, and I don't identify immediately, instantaneously, that it's Trey Palmer, but I see receiver who does a great toe tap as I look to my left, and I'm thinking immediately what I always think, welcome to the NFL. That was an NFL throw and a big-time NFL catch from a rookie receiver that has a lot of potential. It's very early. Who knows if he's going to have any impact whatsoever, but Trey Palmer looked good the other night. And I think, generally speaking, Baker Mayfield showed you why he's more than likely going to be the starter when the season begins. But I don't think that's 100% settled just yet, because they want to challenge Kyle Trask for what he looks like in this singular practice with the Jets this week and what he looks like at the beginning of the game on Saturday. So you leave open the possibility that if he plays really well, maybe it is a debate going into the final preseason game and the final couple of weeks before you suit up with the Minnesota Vikings.
I've kind of gone to this both things can be true thing. I think, and first of all, I have some knowledge that what I reported is spot on. I think the organization has for a long time felt like, look, when the schedule came out, we're opening up at Minnesota. You've been there, even the new building, just like the old building.
Yes.
It's the loudest building in the NFL by far. It's a very intimidating environment. Given unless Kyle Trask showed Dan Marino abilities, he was not going to start that game. Now, which doesn't mean he's not in a competition. I think this organization very much wants to say, okay, we're going to start, just like if Trask were a rookie. You don't want to go out and start these guys right away in a hostile environment like that and just destroy their confidence in game one. That would be stupid. So, yes, he's got a guy with 68 or 69 starts under his belt in the NFL, and he's playing really well. Of course he's going to get the start. Does that mean Trask has no chance to break through? No. And if Baker Mayfield comes out and is, has a 100 quarterback rating for the first 5 games, maybe Trask never gets a shot. But you know what? We don't care. Because we got
right. That's a good problem to have, because then you've probably won 3 or 4 of the first 5.
Exactly. Nobody's looking to give anyone any opportunities. We're trying to win a division here. Like, for God's sake, you play to win the game, right? So so I think Trask is going to get his shot, and this is the brilliant way to go about it. Because if you'd have said Baker's the guy, you don't have the competition, you don't have the edge. Trask, even as hard a worker as he is going to be, oh, geez, I don't even get an opportunity. No, you want him engaged. You want him feeling like he's going to get his shot, and he's going to get his shot. It may be week 2, it may be week 3, 4. I don't know, but I think he's going to get a shot at some point to show what he can do in a live NFL game. Would you agree?
And you don't, right? Yes, and you don't want this, but what if there's an injury? We keep talking about this on your show, and I'm going to keep saying this. You have to have Kyle Trask ready to go, even if he's not the starter, in the event of an injury early on in the year. So it will be very interesting this week. The one practice is going to be tomorrow with the Jets. I know from what I've been told from multiple sources, they are less than thrilled.
Yeah.
I'll just put it that way, that there's not 2 practices with them, because that's what they've been led to believe all along. So they're now going to end up practicing at an alternate location on Thursday. And I really wonder, just one more thing real quick, does this necessitate that you're going to get some other work in with some guys in the first quarter of the game that you maybe were not going to do had you practiced twice with them? Because without getting into all of the minutia, there's only so many padded practices you can have. That's part of what the motivation is here from the Jets. But there's no restriction on the first quarter and the second quarter of the game Saturday night.
Nope.
So get some guys out there that maybe weren't necessarily going to play or play a lot, and let them run around. And I think this is another important point too. If you're going off the premise that most everybody's not going to play in the third game with Baltimore next week, you're talking about that Saturday night is the last time for live action against an opponent for 3+ weeks now before you get to the Viking week.
That's right.
So I think you may see, I don't know this, you may see some more of the starters longer. Maybe some guys that weren't going to play as much will play longer to get used to hitting, blocking, tackle to the ground, that kind of thing. Let's just see how it plays out. Let's see how they look against the Jets by everybody's account tomorrow, and then let's see what it looks like Saturday night. It would also not surprise me if you see some starters play in the first quarter of the third preseason game for this same reason, because again, you and I go back to the era when There were 4 preseason games. The
Right.
fourth one, nobody ever played because you were gearing up like 8 or 9 days later to start the regular season. Now you've got 2 full weeks. You've essentially got a bye week. Labor Day week and weekend is a bye week.
Right.
So if you don't play in the third preseason game, you got 3 weeks really without live hitting, blocking, tackling for the most part.
Which is no good. That's not the way to get a team ready. And listen, TJ, I have a little bit more leeway than you do as I don't work for the Buccaneers.
Right.
I was not okay with resting 16 starters last week. The Steelers didn't do that. Mike Tomlin seems to get his teams ready. Andy Reid didn't do that. Bill Belichick didn't do that. I look around the league, nobody's doing that. Todd Bowles, I'm sure he had his reasons to do so, but to me, this is a team that's developing. If there's any team that needs to be playing their starters longer, especially along the offensive line to get some chemistry going, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I did not understand that at all. But I tell you what, I guarantee you something that was part of that decision. He had 2 practices, not 1, but 2 practices against the Jets next week. And I bet if he knew there was only going to be 1, he would have played his starters.
Very well put.
That's why this decision by the Jets is clown show, bro. This is not NFL. You don't do this in the NFL. I'm like, this is. I'll be watching Hard Knocks to find out what exactly. But am I wrong? You've been around the league a while. You don't do this. This is
especially when this has been on the books for a
Yes.
while in the off season that you were coming to do this, and like you said, you're planning your training camp, you're planning your travel, you're planning on when did you practice Monday, when are you practicing or not Tuesday, and what time, and then you travel, and then you go and have the practices plural with the other team. So I think ultimately it gives us something to talk about here for this week. And maybe they were intending to have most of these guys play the whole first half anyway on Saturday, but we may get more of the starters for the whole first half and beyond on Saturday with this game with the Jets. And we'll see. We'll see. By the way, real quick, because I know you got to go. Very impressed with Servassier Dennis.
You for a while. When do you have to go?
Whatever you need. Servassier Dennis at field level. Very impressive on that game. And then I've seen some of the TV copy of the game. Yaya Diaby, the same thing. The young guys that we're looking at, can they make a contribution? Those are 2 guys that it was very interesting to watch them in their development. And again, Trey Palmer at wide receiver. And I know you talked a lot about the offensive line and the right side of the offensive line. Let me just say again, you know where I'm coming from. I work for the team. Give it a couple of preseason games to see if it develops more. There is no substitute for the live action and the live reps. You're exactly right. Cody Mauch is out there going, holy crap, whether he wants to admit it or not. I'm blocking a Pittsburgh Steeler in the NFL. This is not North Dakota State anymore. So you got to give them some opportunity to develop, to work with the new offensive coordinator over the next couple of games, and then let's see what it looks like. I keep hearing people talk about Luke Gedeke, and I saw a couple of people push back that Gedeke looked better on film when they watched, and that one of the sacks was not really his fault that he gave up. Okay, here's the reality, folks. If Luke Gedeke is not doing well in this practice with the Jets and the game on Saturday, they're going to continue to ongoing evaluate, and somebody else is going to get the shot probably at right tackle. It's a competition at that position, and I know you know that. It's not just going to be his job handed to him, as it should be.
This is why I asked Todd Bowles that question in the post-game presser. It doesn't look like there's competition. To me, it looks like Cody Mauch and Gedeke have been given these jobs.
But they have a couple of other guys that can play right tackle. Like you mentioned, you could move Robert Hainsey to right tackle if you wanted to, depending on Ryan Jensen's situation at center. Again, they are in ongoing evaluation mode. And if it's bad, if in their judgment they see that it's bad, they're not married to this to start against the Minnesota Vikings, as you mentioned, in that environment with the loud crowd against a tough pass rusher. So let's just see the next couple of games, what it looks like, and their actions will speak louder than words.
Yeah, I would say I would not normally go in that tough on a first preseason game, especially for a rookie in Cody Mauch. And I'm not circling him just yet. He needs to. I talked to him after the game, and he admitted he was a little wide-eyed. He's like, my technique wasn't as good as it needs to be. The penalties as a group were outrageous on the offensive line. He knows he needs to be better, but I don't expect him to be a seasoned vet. Gedeke's got 7 starts in the NFL, and none of them were very good, quite frankly. And now I see more evidence that I just don't know if he's got that dog in him. That's necessity. That's a necessity. I mean, he wants to talk about being a glass eater. I ain't seen it. He starts stuff because he plays through the whistle, and that doesn't mean you're playing well just because you're taking a little extra liberties. At the echo of the whistle, that doesn't make you a glass eater to me. Pancake somebody.
I did see somebody put this on social media for what it's worth. He did have a block in the run play where he eradicated a guy and wiped him out. So there's some good, some good, some bad, and I love it because now we're scrutinizing play on the field. We're no longer talking about contracts and hypotheticals. We're watching them play on the field, and we'll see what happens with the Jets for this week in preseason game number 2.
And listen, being critical of football players and, decisions, that's what this is all about, right?
That's right.
NFL. This is you being a fan. That's what we do. And if organizations or coaches get, the great ones don't care what I'm saying. They don't give a rat's ass.
Last time I checked, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this for 30 years, believe it or not. You've been doing it for a long time too, 25, 30 years. We don't get anybody out, do we?
No,
we don't tackle anybody. I don't block shots. I didn't even in my day block shots.
I've seen that's pretty consistent, though.
Yeah.
The organizations, the coaches that start getting rabbit ears and start reacting to stuff that they hear or whatever, they don't last long. They don't last long because they are focused on something completely that they shouldn't be. Dirk Cutter was the king of that. When he was an offensive coordinator, I thought he did a hell of a job.
Yes.
When he became a head coach, he suddenly, saw spies behind every microphone. It was like the Russian KGB was on. It was in on every question, and he was worried about. And when you start worrying about that, you got issues. You got issues. So, and I'm not saying that this group is. I'm not saying that the Bucks are. But they, again, it doesn't matter what the hell I say or what you say. Gedeke has got to get right. And they've got a lot riding on him because, this organization, there's not a whole lot of backup to go to if Gedeke doesn't work. And to be fair, one of our commenters pointed out yesterday, you look at these draft picks, Gedeke, Mauk, JTS, Kyle Trask. I'm forgetting one more. Oh, Logan Hall. These are all second-round picks or first-round picks. They have not yet made the impact that they need to make. Now, listen, Jason Light, to me, has done a phenomenal job the last 6-7 years. And he deserves all the credit for that. And I don't think he gets as much credit as he deserves, quite frankly. But those guys that I just mentioned are high draft picks, and their story has not been written yet, not even close. But what we're seeing at this point,
well, okay, I got you. And I heard the point yesterday. Cody Mauk's played one preseason game.
Exactly.
Cody Mauk comes out of a lineage of Ali Marpet and Alex Kappa, who both were really good out of small schools. So in Jason Light, we trust on that one. Logan Hall, we didn't call his name very much last year, so that one's got to be better because he was the first round pick last year, essentially, because they traded out of the first round. He was up at the top of the second round. By the same token, 3 names from last year's draft alone: Rashad White, K. Dot, and Jake Camarda. How did they do out of last year's draft?
Pretty damn good.
Let's just give this some time from last year and this year to see how it develops. And right now, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is being pushed because there are other guys that can play, including Yaya Diaby, who you drafted, Cam Gill back from injury. You saw him show up the other night.
Love Cam Gill.
So Shaq Barrett back from injury. The playing time is going to be earned at outside linebacker pass rush. So let's see. That's the challenge to him. We'll find out.
I love it. And that's the great part of it. These guys know they're on the clock. And like you say, they're being pushed. So I expect to see something out of all of them. And plus, especially when it comes to JTS and Luke Gedeke, these second year, third year guys, this is when you start to really pop, right? This is when we expect you to really pop. It takes a while in the NFL. If they were superstars by now, that would be the exception. But this year they need to show something, and I expect them to. I expect them all to. Cody's going to struggle in early on. That's just going to happen. But they see a lot of promise in him, And that's part of the game too. You have to be patient as an organization. You can't be panicky. Can't be like a daily talk show host criticizing guys after a freaking one preseason game. But they didn't play well. I mean, I'm just simple as that. I'm not giving up on them, but you have to have the long view if you're the organization,
and they do. Yeah, and we'll find out. And again, this is the fun part because it's all the evaluation, and you're gearing everything towards the Minnesota game and the regular season game. But this is a fun week because you should see a lot of starters for a long time in that game Saturday night to get a good look at it.
So I did talk to your good friend Tiki, who you did games with last week, and you're not doing games with this year.
That's correct.
And he did say, "Thank God I get away from that."
He promoted up. I mean, it's a story. It's the story of my career, and to an extent, you are. Yes. These people that were around all ascend, and we're still doing the same stuff we're doing. I don't know what that says about them and what that says about us, but we still have a lot of fun doing this. But good for Tiki. And how about this? Tiki Barber's first game, Buccaneer fans, with CBS full time in a 3-man booth with Andrew Catalon and Matt Ryan. Do you know this? Is Minnesota Vikings, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's a CBS game. Oh. So my man Tiki needs a little intel from the Bucs sideline guy now because CBS will show that game. So Channel 10 in our market, CBS all over the state will have
Matt Ryan.
With Matt Ryan and Andrew Catalon, it will be Vikings, Buccaneers, week 1, and Tiki Barber on the call of the Buccaneer opener in Minnesota.
We'll get both those guys on game week for sure. And Tiki, I really had a great time chatting with him. So does he know anybody else that knows anything about the Bucs?
Maybe. Yeah, he might with his brother. Yeah, I mean, and it was so special to watch both of them and how intertwined they've been because I have identical twins with the daughters, right. And it's just amazing when they were showing the stuff on how they have their own language and their own communication at times where they make these mumble chirp noises or whatever, and they know what they're saying to each other, and they sit with their head cocked the same way watching TV, and they walk off and they're walking the same way. And it's the same thing with Rondé and Tiki. Yeah. It's amazing to watch that in two tremendous football people. And I keep saying this to you, phenomenal human beings away from the field. Yes. Tiki got a bad rap for a lot of what was going on in New York. Tiki Barber does a lot of amazing things that people don't know anything about for charity, for kids, for people with disabilities, all kinds of things. These are phenomenal people, the Barbers. So I root for them big time.
I have a little bit of insight into that. And, I'm not going to trash anybody on the air, but Tiki's a good man.
Yes,
man. He dealt with a lot of crap. He
has worked very hard in our business right now after being embarrassed and fired by NBC. And if he was sitting here with us, he would admit this, that maybe he was not ready for that big of an assignment, NBC News, the Today Show, or whatever. Yes. So he got cut in half, brother, from a broadcasting standpoint. And now he has worked hard. He has increased his knowledge base of other sports besides football, baseball, hoops, whatever. So he's doing afternoon drive on WFAN, in New York, the number one media market in the country. And it's deserved because he knows what he's talking about. He's now ascended to doing network TV games every week on CBS, which there's only a select few of those jobs every weekend on CBS and Fox. It's because he has worked his butt off to do it. And I saw it week after week doing radio with me. Thank God I didn't anchor him down from being able to move up, JP.
Hey, are you excited about the college football season? Because I am.
Yes, it's all here in like 10 or 11 days, right? It's all about to be here. And weekend number 1, Tiki is not with me, but I think I shared this with you, maybe not, right here on FanStream JP. I will get to work West Virginia, Penn State on national radio at Happy Valley. LeVar Arrington, the former Nittany Lion, the former Washington Redskin football team commander.
Yeah.
LeVar Arrington will be my analyst, the former Penn State star. I may have to hold him down in the booth for that game at Happy Valley, 100,000 strong for Penn State hosting West Virginia. So that's the first game I'll do, and I'll kind of fill you in as we go on games I get to do nationally. So, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to see what it looks like for this year.
I love my college football. Realignment is what it is. I can see, honestly, I can see FSU in the SEC. I can see them in the Big Ten. For some weird reason, I kind of like the idea of FSU going to the Big Ten. I don't know
At
why.
what point do these conferences, I know this is not your total point, but the Big 10 and the Big 12 got to come up with another name. If they've got 20 or 24 or 32 teams,
Yeah.
what are we doing anymore?
What are we doing? Yes, but I just like, I know, but I don't want. I want to play Florida every year. So
Right.
if it means it's not playing Florida, going to the big whatever 10. Then I assume that we'll still have the rivalries with Miami and Florida. All right, but I like the idea of even USC, UCLA, Wisconsin going up to
Michigan,
the big
Ohio State.
the horseshoe, Happy Valley.
Mhm.
That to me, it's a bigger brand. It's a more national brand if you're FSU.
Well, when they were independent, right with the time
Yeah,
you got there and right before, they were
yeah,
always playing those teams as an
exactly.
independent.
That's how they made their name. Bobby went on the road to Nebraska and Ohio State
Yes.
and beat them.
Notre Dame.
Notre
Yes.
Dame, yeah, absolutely. So I think, there's some legacy to that, and I just think it's a more interesting place to be. You're going to play the SEC schools, as I said with Florida. You're going to play them in bowl games. You can, you're going to play them in playoffs, so you still have that, those opportunities. But I just like it. Maybe I'm crazy. Everybody wants to be in the SEC. To me, that just seems very regional.
This
Am
is
I
the
crazy?
thing why I love FanStream JP. Do you realize that we have flown past like what would normally be 2 breaks
Yeah.
and we're just going, brother? Whatever you need.
Oh, Jesus.
Whatever you
That
need,
far,
I'm here.
that far. And you could probably got to go. You know,
I'm all good for about another 3 minutes if you need me. Anything else in the next 3
I can't
minutes? Or are
even.
we
I have
good?
to bend down to see my clock. It's so small. So I said clock. But thank you for coming on. I'm looking forward to having you on each and every week. We'll talk some Bucks and college football.
Absolutely.
You're the best in the business, man. I really appreciate
Well, I appreciate that. And Buccaneer fans, let's see what it looks like against the Jets for this weekend. I'm happy to jump aboard with you here. It's great to have all of this back, and the games will be for real soon enough as we ramp up to all of this with the Buccaneers.
Well,
Stay
say hello
tuned
to
on this. It's
Aaron
always great to be
Rodgers.
with you, brother.
Say hello to Aaron Rodgers for us up here on the side.
I don't know how close I'm going to get to him, and I would
Bring
I
him.
would mortgage the house. He's not going to be in uniform once the game begins. He might be in uniform to warm up and then go change out of it, but apparently he's not playing in the game. So whatever it looks like, it's going to be in the practice, and we'll see it on Hard Knocks later
Yeah.
on what the practice looks like against the Buccaneers. We'll find out.
All right. Thanks, partner. Appreciate it.
Always great to be with you, brother.
All right, we'll take a break, and we'll come back on the other side. Nick Geddes will rejoin me here, and we'll get some more into the Wander Franco situation, which you may have missed at the top, many of you, and much more on the Bucks, the NFL, college football coming your way. JC Allen from Pewter Report will join us at 11:30 as well. Stay with us. Law Group, JEEVES. Call for a free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. We're local, we're trusted. The law firm brings over 80 years of combined legal experience. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit mediator practicing 30 years. You hear him on the show all the time. Great guy, big Gator fan, and great for the community. The Jeeves Law Group is a highly skilled team with years of experience that will apply their skills, expertise, and knowledge to assist individuals who have been in an accident with compensation for damages, lost wages, medical expenses, pain and suffering, and property damage. Get that free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area modern medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
During COVID, over 1.7 million people were added to the Florida Medicaid rolls, but as of April 1st, 2023, most of these people may not be eligible for the Medicaid coverage and will lose their health plan. If you have been notified you are losing your coverage, don't freak out. It's very likely you can apply for a federal subsidy under the Affordable Care Act. Just call 877-652-0244. Our representatives will walk you through the whole process, get some basic information on your income, number of kids, and then they'll find a plan that best fits your needs. In fact, with the new laws, 90% of Americans qualify for reduced or free health care. You can select great plans like Florida Blue, that's my carrier, love them, paying $800 left after making the call. 877-652-0244. Our highly trained professionals know all the intricacies of the new laws. They will do all the work, you save tons of money. So if you're being dropped from Medicaid, fear not. Call 877-652-0244. Get real health insurance, free doctor visits, free blood work, no deductibles. 877-652-0244.
Hey, JP here for Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, EPI. You've probably seen their purple logo at so many events that you've gone to. They are based in Tampa, and for over 33 years, they've been creating and producing conferences, meetings, and special events, the biggest to the smallest. Solid reputation of delivering the best audio-visual, sound, lighting, entertainment, video production, and decor on time and on budget. I've worked with them with so many big events. The Warrior Games, which was an Olympic-style event all over Tampa Bay, from McDill to the Convention Center to USF. They did it flawlessly, made it look big and fantastic. I've worked with them on small events as well, large and small meetings and conferences, sporting events, fundraisers. If you got a fundraiser, you don't know the logistical way to pull it off, they'll take care of everything. Entertainment events, branding events, grand openings, so much more. The folks at Extravaganza Productions are the most professional and the best. I've worked with them many times. They are fantastic. You can contact them through extravaganzaproductions.com or call 813-621-4700. Extravaganza Productions, they are awesome.
Coming back at you.
Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports.
It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. If you have gotten in accidents or need any type of legal help whatsoever, the Jeeves Law Group is what it is all about, my friends. Scott Jeeves, big Gator fan. He'll be in here on Thursday to kick off our Gator football report with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com, as we did last year. And looking forward to seeing him and looking forward to chatting about all things college football. I just love my college football, and I cannot wait to see the Florida Gators open up at Utah, a team they beat last year. And I think that was a bit of a surprise to me. I thought Utah was going to win that game, and Anthony Richardson played tremendously well in that game, and it kind of showed you what kind of coach Billy Napier is, number one. And I think he's going to be just fine. So I'm looking forward to this Gator season.
Yeah. First of all, glad to be back on here here today for the first time.
Yeah.
Hope you were able to hold it down there for the first 45 minutes.
Of course, I effed it up. I didn't hit go live. You forgot to tell me that, right? I'm supposed to. The most important thing.
I don't know that's how it went.
Yeah,
but.
no, I'm a moron. It's my fault, but I can blame it on you.
Yeah, but it's all good. No, the Florida game I thought was like, just because you brought it up, I thought that game was almost like a blessing and a curse last year because it's because these polls that come out. Mm-hmm. What did Florida? They went all the way up to 12.
They did.
After that.
Yeah. And
people were talking Anthony Richardson, Heisman, and Florida, contender in the SEC East and all that kind of stuff because you beat Utah. It was a really big moment. And then it quickly everything came down to earth.
I'm trying to think back if it was last year. Was the USF game?
That was 2021. They played USF.
Yeah.
And that was when at least we first got a real look at Anthony Richardson when he went off from a running standpoint.
Yeah, but USF almost won that game.
Yeah, they were in it.
They were in the game, yeah. But yeah, Anthony Richardson, and now with the Colts, obviously, and everybody, in consensus believes that he's going to start. I think
Well,
he's going to have
that was announced today, actually, officially.
that he's going to start.
Yeah,
the season.
Shane Steichen said he's going to start.
I think it's going to be a little rough go for him.
I'll be honest. I went back and watched some of the throws he made yesterday because I think everybody was focusing on the pick, and I'm guilty of it.
Yeah,
guilty
no,
as
he
me.
made some good throws.
He made he made one really good throw over the middle where it was like a small window, got it in a tight window. It was against the Bills' #1 defense, so it's pretty good. And then he had another running play where he absolutely trucked somebody, and he looked like Cam Newton-esque a little bit.
That's who he is.
Like you get like the WTF plays from the good standpoint, and then you get the WTF from a bad standpoint, and that's just what you're gonna have to live with Anthony Richardson.
Exactly. That's why I say it's going to be a little bit of a rough go.
And Jonathan Taylor needs to be there too.
Yeah, big time.
And he's back in camp, I guess, but he told them I'm not practicing until I'm fully 100%.
Did you see the stupid shit that Irsay tweeted out? The Tom Petty line.
I probably need to just go ahead and follow Jim Irsay because I'm sure he's a good follow with his tweets.
He just he can't help himself. He just has to, absolutely insult Jonathan Taylor at every chance he gets. It's just the dumbest crap ever.
That's a running back I would pay.
Thank you, Glazers. Thank you for being sane owners.
Literally,
and just
staying away,
staying in the background. Just writing checks. They do when they step in when they need to. But
it's so funny. Like you brought up the Glazers and they just put together that great party for Rondé and they stay out of things here. And then I'm watching. Yesterday was the first game of the Premier League for Man United, and right when they were coming out of the tunnel, right there's just flags and banners of "Give us our club back." Glazers out. Like it's just crazy. Every time I see the juxtaposition of how we feel about
sell
it.
The team?
I don't know. It's just delayed. They're delaying it. I don't know what they want to do there. But you got a $7 billion offer on the table. I'd take it.
Why did you deal with that crap? Those crazy people over
there.
Yeah,
it feels like Avram.
Take your money and run.
It feels like Avram Glazer. I don't know how involved he is with the Bucks. It seems
not at all.
Yeah, it seems like he's mostly the focal point of the Man United. Is Avram, and he doesn't really have much to do with the Bucks.
No, you never see him.
Right, because he's over there.
See Darcy and Brian and Joel. I don't even think I saw him at Rondé's thing.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think he's mostly running the Man United side of things because he's always the one that's in the papers over there.
Well,
it's interesting though.
Yeah, if I were that rich, I'd cash that sucker in. I'd cash that sucker in and give me some gold bullion and move on. All right, yeah. It's unfortunately my monologue at the first part just went out over the audio and not the StreamYard. So, in talking about Wander, and I spoke with somebody, a ball player, a major leaguer from the DR, and just kind of asked him about the legal culture over there, and I don't want to say that he chuckled about it, but it was just like nothing's going to happen to Wander. Nothing's going to happen to Wander. He thinks in the long term, he believes that and rightfully so that the culture over there. Not rightfully so is probably not the way to say it, but factually, the culture over there, these guys are gods. They're gods. These Major League Baseball players are gods over there. They have tons of power. They have tons of money. And if you're just like in this country, let's not be foolish. Our legal system bends to political and powerful people. I mean, that's just the way the world works, unfortunately. And, especially with there being a extortion part of this deal that is already out there, okay, that they wanted money and wanted cars and whatnot. Once that is brought up, there's huge red flags. So, and I'm not trying to diminish what he may or may not have done, but I'm talking from a legal standpoint, the people that have grown up in that country and have played Major League Baseball and understand how the system works over there, basically saying, if you think that Wander's career is going to be derailed by this, like he's going to do jail time, significant jail time, that's not going to happen. That's their opinion, but he just believes that that's not. And I'm just passing that on to the people of somebody who knows this, because I know nothing about their legal culture whatsoever. So take that for what it's worth. If he did something horribly wrong and he's not going to be punished for it, that's horrible. That's horrible.
Yeah, and
unfortunately, I'm living in the real world here.
Yeah,
we're not. And anybody who says they know for a fact what happened here,
Well, look at, and I told this to you. I mean, look at, this is obviously a lot different, but look at the Deshaun Watson situation.
Thank you.
Do we really even know? We have an idea of what we think we know, but do we really know?
No.
Right? And did Deshaun Watson face any jail time or any
No.
imprisonment for that? No.
No.
He's going to play this season. He
Was
got
never arrested, was never indicted.
Right. He got an 11-game suspension, and then it just becomes to, the court of public opinion at that point of how do you feel about, are you willing to accept this as fact, if nothing happened or did happen. It becomes that kind of situation. So the whole thing is very hairy. But to be honest, I think given the fact that, again, the world, we've come around and we're still working on this, but we have to take these things serious and not just do the old, oh, well, you know what, that's fine. She's lying probably. Like, we can't do that now anymore. We owe it to do thorough investigations on these things because for too long, let's be honest, as a society, we've hid these things.
Of course.
If this happened 20
Of
years
course.
ago, we all would be going, oh, no, she's full of crap. It's fine. If he did it, whatever, he'll still play. We can't do that anymore. So you have to look at it from all angles now. I think we owe it to the accusers here.
And I'm not saying that what I said is right or wrong. We don't know the facts of the case. What I'm saying, it's sad that it is that way, that our legal system bends to the powerful and rejects the powerless.
Right.
And that's our legal system. It didn't used to be that way in our legal system. It is now. Without question it is. And that's sad. That's sad that the powerless, that 14-year-old girls don't have much power. And especially in a situation like this where you have powerful people, Major League Baseball, these deities that are Major League players. Wander Franco is a god in the Dominican Republic. And, any attorney general that is going to try to, make a case against him better have a damn good case.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just telling you what the reality is. So if you're a Rays fan and you think, here's the thing about the Rays fan, do you want Wander Franco as the foundation of your team moving forward? If you're, as an organization, do you want him around? I think right now, the sense I get from the Rays is they don't. I think they've had enough of it already, and I think they are regretting their decision to give him this much money and guarantee him this much money this early in his career. I think they're regretting that decision right now.
I can't imagine.
As good as he's been the last month and a half, I think they're probably saying we effed up.
Yeah, I can't imagine what they're thinking. Again, he's the face of the franchise. He is. We talked about how the team's marketed, a lot better this season, things like that. Who's been the focal point of that marketing? Wander Franco. Randy to a point,
Randy
yeah.
Lane, yeah.
But, the fact that the Rays, I guess, scrubbed everything Wander-related off of their social media.
That's a big deal.
I saw Randy put out a hype video yesterday, which I thought was appropriately timed. It's almost like he was trying to get everybody back on board with the team. It's the way I took it. And it was like a 1 minute hype video, and Wander was nowhere in the video. Every other player was except for Wander, and this is something that Randy put out. So
was it created by the team though? Could you tell?
It was very well done. It looked like the team might have created it, but it did not have Wander in it, and Randy had posted it.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yeah,
I think once again, don't listen to what they say. Look at what they do. Obviously, the Rays are wanting to move on from Wander Franco. I don't think this is, well, let's take him off for now until this blows over. I don't think it's that. I think it's we're done with him.
I mean, think about it. This is a team that's never invested, this kind of capital. Going back to when he was 16 years old and they gave him a $4 million signing bonus to become a Ray. Mm-hmm. They've never invested this type of capital in a player.
Nope.
And it was was it a risk? I can't even really call it a risk because we all were saying this guy was going to be an all-star for 10 seasons and by far the most talented player to ever step on the field in a Rays uniform. Nobody's going to dispute that. And that's what makes this situation just so tough, I'd imagine, if you're in that front office, if you're in that ownership group, of what do you do?
To me, I get a sense that this all really started when he got the big contract. When he got the big contract, that was, a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
I never heard of any issues with him before that.
No, the only incident that we had, and again, this you can have your own opinion on this, was the whole jewelry thing. that was stolen out of his car. That's really the only thing that had popped out where you might have went, is that smart? But you know what? He's 21 years old. You know, you move on from it. He'll learn from it. And then this year, it seems like we've had multiple occasions, obviously, of immature behavior. Bottom line here, the grand scheme of things, regardless if anything comes out of this or not, Wander Franco has a lot, and I mean a lot, of growing up to do if he's going to be the face of this franchise. And the Rays are going to give him the keys to be that guy. And he's got to get himself surrounded by the right people.
Yeah,
I feel like history tells us when you're surrounded by the wrong people, things go sideways.
And who's the guy in that clubhouse that brings the gravitas, that brings the legacy, that brings the respectability?
Well, not even in his own clubhouse. I mean, like in his own personal circles.
Right. No, exactly. I don't know what his family's like. I don't know what his dad's like. I don't know what his support structure is. I don't know. This is Richie P. Who, by the way, reads Spanish. Regarding Goldschmidt, you overlooked the fact that Goldie played with either Molina and Pujols as it relates to Latino players that carries clout. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Goldschmidt can go to if he were in the clubhouse, he could go to Wander and go, look, I played with the Otter. I played with Pujols. In fact, I got him on my phone right now. Why don't you talk to him for a while? Yeah, and if it's not Goldschmidt, it should have been somebody else. This team desperately needs a clubhouse captain. They need a Jeter. They need somebody that can teach these young kids what you can and cannot do. Because, as I said earlier, Wander did not come into this locker room and this organization in slippers. He came in stomping his feet. I'm driving a Bentley. I'm wearing this stuff. I'm getting money. I'm in your face. I'm big. Say what you want about Major League Baseball's unwritten rules or whatever. That does not play well in Major League clubhouses. It just doesn't. You're not supposed to be that loud when you're a rookie. Baseball is a game of rites of passage, and that's just not what young players are supposed to do. You can have your opinion on it or whatever, and this is clearly he has rubbed guys the wrong way in this clubhouse. He is an issue in this clubhouse. He has not been a good teammate. And there were pieces of Glasnow's interview last night that kind of hinted to the fact that, you know what, we might be better without him on the road here. Let's see what this team does. And you know what? After one game,
it was a good start.
It's a damn good start.
It was a good start. And, one thing I will say, the Rays have been a lot more willing, it looks like, this season to give some of these young guys a chance rather than treading water with some guys who are, some maybe fringe or
retreads,
bottom of the level major leaguers retreads. Like Basabi's in there, and he's just going to play free. He doesn't know anything yet. He's just doing it. Curtis Mead, same thing, and some of the other guys. So, yeah, it's the Rays. As much as I think Wander Franco not being on the field drastically changes how I feel about their postseason chances, they still have a chance. And this is again trying to look at it the optimistic point of view to rally as a team, reset, and get back on track. And I thought last night was a good first step for that.
RJ says, reading a lot of the Spanish reports on Franco, and it just seems all very strange unless it was a typo. Read that he filed a lawsuit against someone in July. Yeah, there was a complaint filed against him, and he filed a countersuit because of the extortion attempts. Be careful with the translators, though, because they can mix up what's being said, but I really am hoping that all of this is just him being blackmailed aside from baseball. Listen, and that happens in the DR.
Yeah.
It happens everywhere, but especially in the DR. A lot. These are people's lives we're dealing with, and if he really did do something, it's really sick. But if he didn't, his career shouldn't be ruined over being blackmailed for money by desperate people. Yeah, listen, RJ, I hear you. And you don't have to go any further than the Ian Cole incident last year. Somebody made allegations on Instagram. They proved them to be untrue. And they suspended him for a week, and they went right back out.
Well, I don't even know if – here's the funny thing with that is I don't even know if they were proven to be untrue because the thing was it was a social media post from somebody who I don't believe had a profile picture or anything.
Nope.
Put that whole social media post out there, and then that person never was willing to come forward to expound on what happened. So it just kind of – again, this is kind of how things work.
Right.
They just get buried, and then it's up to the court of public opinion. And in the Ian Cole incident – listen, Ian Cole still gets backlash for that because at the end of the day, we don't know.
Right. But that's not fair.
It's probably not fair, but at the same thing, we just don't know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the world we live in.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see where this goes, but for right now, he's out for at least a week. This road trip, he's getting paid, by the way.
Right.
The Rays are not compelled to pay him in this situation, but they have decided to do so. and there was an agreement between Wander and his agent that he would take this time off with the Rays. But my sense is the Rays are in a adversarial position with him right now. I don't think these two. I don't think they're on the same page. I don't think that they're like, hey, buddy, we'll get you through this. We'll help you out. I don't get that sense. Do you?
It's just very tough to know.
Yeah.
It's very tough to know. I mean, this is also the same, and this is again separate situation, but it's the same franchise that went public with his benching, and the reasons
That's
for
why I'm
that.
saying it, yeah.
And the Rays have never been known to do that.
Nope.
They could have never brought that up, and I bet you it would have never gotten out, because that's how the Rays operate. But they felt they needed to do that.
Yeah.
So how did Wander feel about that? Right.
Not
is
good.
the big thing.
Not good. I would. My feeling is right now that this is not going to be a long-term marriage between the Rays and Wander Franco, and that may be a good thing. It may turn out to be a bad thing because there ain't no denying this dude's talent. And when he matures, he could be, honestly, a Hall of Famer and the greatest Ray that has ever played.
Yeah.
And we will have missed out on Josh Hamilton and Wander Franco.
Yeah. And
after having them in our organization.
And it's sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
Yep. All right, couple other notes I want to get. Let's take a break. I want to come back and talk about this crazy Michael Orr story. What the hell? You're going to blow up my blind side? The whole thing? Really? This is kind of weird. FSU staying with the ACC for now. I'm shocked by that, to be quite honest with you. And we'll get to a couple other things as well. Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott sign. Lots to get to here. And J.C. Allen's going to join us from the Pewter Report at 11:30. We're brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo will join us at 11:45. So stay tuned for that as well. Stay with us. Have any old coins sitting around the house? Well, the Golden Diamond Source will purchase a variety of different types of coins and bullion. Their gold buying program includes sterling silver, platinum, and watches. They also accept unusual pieces that other jewelry stores do not, such as gold bars and sterling silver flatware. The list of items they do accept is far more extensive than those they don't, so check it out. While you're there, you can check out the largest collection of any family-owned jewelry store in the country, especially with summer coming to an end. The holidays are right around the corner. Never too early to start your holiday shopping, especially if you're planning on getting engaged or have any birthdays or anniversaries coming up. Come on in and find out what buying jewelry should be like with an expert staff of gold and diamond jewelry enthusiasts. And the best part, they treat you like family. And if you're worrying about price, don't. The Golden Diamond Source has something for everyone's budget. They even have a layaway. If you stop in and get your favorite piece now, you can have it paid off by Christmas. Plus, you can even finance your purchase with 0% interest for up to 5 years, and you can get a $5,000 diamond for only $83 a month. It's the greatest folks in the world, Julie and Steve Weintraub, the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. TrueBody offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on TrueBody and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Extravaganza Productions. If you have a event coming up, large or small, they can take care of all the setup, the audio-visual work, and help you on the creative as well. They've got a warehouse full of props, crazy stuff in there. To have a creative session with the great folks at EPI, and that's free if you mention the JP Peterson Show. So if you got whatever event you got coming up, you want to do it right, call the folks at Extravaganza Productions. I've worked with them many, many times on huge events like the Warrior Games to smaller events like fundraisers. They do it all. Great folks over there, great prices. You'll be surprised what you can get for the money. And as I said, expert. Make your event look big and professional with Extravaganza Productions. Just go to the website, extravaganzaproductions.com, email or call them through there. Well, this just broke about an hour ago, and wanted to definitely mention it. Sage Steele has come to an agreement with ESPN and Disney in terms of her contract and the settlements, and she is leaving with this great quote: now I can exercise her First Amendment rights more freely. That ought to tell you everything you need to know. That is true courage, my friends. True courage, what she has done over there at ESPN. And I am thrilled. She was when she was here in Tampa Bay, I got to know her really well, and I call her a friend, and I think God bless her, and she will certainly land on her feet, and that's great. Sad that she doesn't feel like she could speak freely at a network like ESPN, and I think if you watched ESPN over the last few years, you could probably tell why. But good for her. Good luck. Congratulations to Sage Steele. As I'm sure she got a nice settlement too. I'm sure she got a good one, and she'll move on to something much more enjoyable for her. All right, so get to some of these other stories before we get J.C. Allen on here. This Michael Oher story is the blind side. Crazy. Where did this come from?
I wrote about this a little bit yesterday with On3. So he filed a petition in a Tennessee probate court accusing the Toohey family of profiting off his expense with the making of The Blind Side, which I think we all would agree is a fantastic movie. It's on literally like every night on TV. So if you haven't seen it, I don't know what you've been missing. Yeah. The movie, unfortunately, is probably ruined because it turns out it's all a lie, which is Hollywood to an extent. There's nothing in there was always going to be true. And Michael Oher has been very vocal about he hated the way that kind of painted him. And he felt that it impacted his NFL career because a lot of teams viewed him as being, like, without lack of a better term, dumb. And he felt that so he never liked the movie. But then finding out that he was not actually adopted by the Toohey family. And I guess he figured this out in February of 2023, which is obviously, 6 months before he filed the petition. was kind of the big thing here that came out of this, and alleging that he made nothing off the film of The Blind Side, and that the Toohey family made millions off of a story that wouldn't exist without him. And I've personally said this, and these are now my personal feelings. Not shocking one bit.
You think it's true?
What Michael Orr said?
Yeah.
I have no reason to think that. Well, hold up, the family. I put the quotes in here, too, in my story from Sean Toohey, who did an interview with the Daily Memphian right after, and he actually outlines the reasons why they decided not to adopt him and went the other route. So he admitted it, that it's true, but his reason, you can debate if you believe that's true or not.
Well, he said they didn't make Sean Toohey said, we didn't make any money off the movie. Michael Lewis gave us half of his share. Everybody in the family got an equal share, including Michael. It was about $14,000 each. We were never offered money. We never asked for money. My money is well documented. You could look it up how much I sold my company for. He sold his company for $213 million.
Right.
The last thing I needed was $40,000 from a movie, Sean Toohey said. I will say it's upsetting that people would think I would want to make money off any of my children. Well, he didn't need to.
No, and that's also, again, I don't know the legal terms, but it's not technically your child, I guess. Is it now?
No. Sean Toohey called Orr's allegations insulting and that he would be willing to end the conservatorship, which is what it was.
Mm-hmm. But for you not to tell, if this is true in this part here, that you decided not to make that known to Michael Orr, only for him to find out 20 years later, that's just shady. I'm sorry, that's just shady.
So he wasn't adopted.
No.
But it was a conservatorship.
He says that they made him sign a document where they tricked him into signing a document making them his conservators, is what Michael Orr said, right?
Right.
And that would mean that the Tooheys were allowed to make business deals and profit directly off of Orr's name all this time.
Right.
Right? So that's the big crux here. And then the quote that Sean Toohey said of why they did the conservatorship, and I'll read the quote here. He said, Michael was obviously living with us for a long time, and the NCAA didn't like that. They said the only way Michael could go to Ole Miss was if he was actually part of the family. I sat Michael down and told him, if you're planning to go to Ole Miss or even considering Ole Miss, we think you have to be part of the family. We would do that legally. We contacted lawyers who had told us we couldn't adopt over the age of 18. The only thing we could do was to have a conservatorship. We were so concerned it was on the up and up and that we made sure the biological mother came to court.
So what's wrong with that?
Well, again, we have conflicting things here. He claims basically that they tricked him into signing this document, and he had no idea that it was conservatorship. He says right here he had a conversation with Michael and told him point blank. So now we have two conflicting things.
And then the other
here.
part of it is, did he really make money off of Michael Orr, or was this just out of the kindness? What we're forgetting here is that they did bring him into their home, and give him everything he needed, including going to the school and give him a great foundation in order to get an NFL contract, something that they did not need to do. And certainly they didn't need the money. They didn't need to do a movie. And I'm certainly when they brought him into their home, I'm pretty sure they weren't like, oh, we're going to get a movie deal out of this. This is one day going to be a great movie. I think when they first brought him into their home, they felt like this was a young man that needed a foundation and had a great opportunity to maybe do something in his life that he wasn't going to get without that foundation of having a home, place to go, security. I believe he went to a private school. They paid for the private school and the coaching and all that, which he never would have got outside of the Tuohys.
Right. But yes, it's just
so to act like this was some type of master manipulation of this young man in order to get a movie deal. They never thought when they brought him in when he was 16 years old that he was going to get a movie. There was going to be a movie made of this. No, that stuff just happened. And I mean, I don't know. I didn't do the due diligence, but you can obviously look up to see how much money they made off this movie. I mean, that's got to be public record. And if Sean Toohey's saying we only made $14,000 and he's lying about it, you wrote a story about it. Is there conflicting opinions out there how much money they made off of this?
There is definitely conflicting opinions, yeah.
According to what Michael Orr says, or does he have some proof?
I mean, I haven't seen him provide proof. Again, these are his words, obviously.
Okay.
Maybe he has proof to present in this.
He should.
I would
assume. He's making these allegations.
Right. I would like to think he wouldn't make these allegations without having this all mapped out. And maybe that's what he's been doing for the last 6 months or so, gathering everything together and learning more information about this.
Well, where's the evidence?
It seems just like the beginning here
Okay.
of what's going to happen.
Okay. Yeah, this seems like a very interesting story. It has it tinges a lot like Colin Kaepernick, to be honest with you. A family graciously bringing someone in a time when they needed it most, and now it's turned into this. And I had Michael Orr on my show many years ago, and it was I'll be honest with you, it was a bizarre interview. It was a bizarre interview, and yeah, you could definitely tell there was he didn't like the way the movie was made.
Right, he's been very vocal about that.
He thinks it painted him in a very poor light.
Yes.
And I think obviously when you're telling a story like this, it's age old in terms of a plot line. You want to take somebody and break them down and look like it's, and then you build them back up. That's the triumph of the story. You want this to paint the circumstances as dire as possible, so the triumph is so emotional and it makes you feel good. It's a great movie.
Yeah. And
and
by the way, I did want to
saying that's right.
I did want to get this right. I went back and looked at part of the legal filing. It says the movie paid, according to the legal filing, the movie paid the Tuohys and their 2 birth children each $225,000 plus 2.5% of the film's quote-unquote defined net proceeds. And the movie obviously grossed more than $300 million at the box office and tens of millions of dollars more in home video sales.
Mm-hmm. So that's fact?
Yeah, that came from the legal filing.
The legal filing.
Yes.
From Michael Orr.
Yes.
All right. Well, then Sean Tuohy is lying. And that's a discoverable thing, and which they'll find out in the
right.
Yeah. I mean, that would be pretty stupid for Sean Tuohy to lie about that when it's part of the legal filing. That would be really, really dumb. And if he did it, then they deserve criticism. There's no question about it. This seems like
I don't know.
very,
Maybe
very
this
odd,
seems, and again,
odd,
this is now
story
my
to be 30, 20 years later.
This is why I said this though. Okay, when I said I'm not shocked, and this is just my personal belief, and you can tell me if you disagree with this or not. I like to think that people in this world are good.
Yeah.
And people want to do good things and help out people. But I just can't help but ignore the fact that it doesn't seem like that happens too much nowadays. So the whole story from
agree with that.
The whole story from the beginning of taking somebody in that's a stranger and building them up, so to say, teaching them the game of football, make millions of dollars, all those things. It sounds great. It's made for a movie.
Yeah.
Clearly in this case. But there's always been part of me that was like, what are the real intentions here? It's just me. Maybe I'm looking at it from a negative point of view, but I can't help. My mind can't help from go there because I just refuse. It's hard for me to figure out that people are going to be that. It sounds stupid.
There's a family here in town that did the same thing for Mike Williams, who went to USC and played at Plant High School.
Right.
Same exact thing, and they did it out of the goodness of their hearts. Same thing happened with Colin Kaepernick. A white family adopted him and gave him every advantage in the world to achieve his goals, which is a great thing. And now they're just estranged. So I don't know what the true story is here. I just don't understand why a very wealthy family would concoct some nefarious scheme to benefit off this young man. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But you may be right. They may just be very evil people.
I mean,
I don't know why.
I don't know. People,
hey, look at that guy over there. He's down and out. Let's go get
again,
him.
Maybe it's just a me thing. But people who have that much money and can will their power around, you never know.
Yeah.
You never ever know.
Yeah.
And again, I just have no reason not to believe Michael Orr.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't know what his motivation could be to get that money.
Oh, clearly he doesn't want to be in a conservatorship anymore either.
Oh, God, no.
Unknowingly being in one for 20 years.
Yeah. So that's weird that he would not know that, because obviously it's public record. How would he not know it?
I have no idea.
And has it affected his business dealings? Did the Tuohys take part of his, like with Britney Spears was in a conservatorship for a long time. That money was being directed. She wasn't allowed to.
Well, here's my
direct her
my thing
money.
too. I want to know.
Was he not directing his own money? Of course he was.
I want to know, by the way, what were journalists doing at this time? Doesn't this seem like something that people who cover the sport, covered the story, it was obviously really big. Doesn't it seem like something somebody could have found out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you could have. Sometimes part of the story makes me feel like it's a little semantics. Like if, the Tuohys would say, oh, we adopted Michael. Was it legally adopted? Was it figuratively adopted? Like he came into their home, and did they want to not have to explain what a conservatorship is instead of adopting him because of NCAA rules? It was the only way he could get to Ole Miss. I mean, I don't know. That seems like, I don't know. That I just don't see why you would, if you're an affluent family, scheme up some scheme to, and maybe it was just after the fact that the movie had so much success that they cooked up this deal after the fact. I don't know. But if Michael Orr was not, if the Tuohys made all this money off of him and he got none of it, that's bullshit.
Yeah, because like he said, the story doesn't exist without him.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Or it doesn't exist without the Tuohys either. But they I don't know if anybody should have benefited from that financially, but why not? But certainly Michael more than anybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Without question. So we'll see what the court says, if that's true or not. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, J.C. Allen's going to join us from Pewter Report. We'll chat with him about Sunday's practice that he was at, where Baker Mayfield may have really seized the job from Kyle Trask. So stay with us. Quick break. The mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up. They're going down.
At Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock.
This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back. We're brought to you by the great folks at the Golden Diamond Source. Hey, you got a bunch of silverware laying around, flatware? Well, you can turn that into money. Oh, grandma's old set of forks and knives. Remember that thing? Bring that down to the Golden Diamond Source, and you can get cold, hard cash. If you got silver coins, gold coins, of course you got a few gold coins hanging around, right? Bring that down to the Golden Diamond Source, and they'll give you cash money. They're paying big money for this stuff right now, so lots of stuff you don't even think you can get money for. Old jewelry, silver, whatever it is, bring it in. You'll find out and take home some cold, hard cash. All right, let's welcome in our good friend J.C. Allen from the Pewter Report. What's up, partner? How are you?
Good. How we doing, guys?
We are we're getting closer to real football. So I'm excited. You were at the Sunday practice. I was not. But from what I've heard you guys talk about on the Pewter Report podcast, must listen, Baker Mayfield may have separated himself even more than he did in Friday night's game. So tell me about that.
Yeah, he's just really decisive on the throws. Obviously, we know turnovers is going to be a big factor of who wins this battle, but also explosive plays, downfield passes. And he connected with Mike and Chris on a few of those, one in particular being a beautiful 80-yard touchdown grab by Mike Evans over Isaac, I forget his first name, cornerback, last name Isaac, number 16. So Mike's just doing incredible things in camp this year. He's just making people look silly. Doesn't matter if it's a starter, especially if it's a backup. He's on a whole nother level. I talked about that last week. I've never seen him this dialed in. Baker's making a little bit more decisive decisions, getting rid of the ball. Actually chucked one into the stands at one point. Fan was hoping for a lucky souvenir, but they had to toss it back in. But, Trask also looked pretty good. Bulls turned up the heat, and they got off the Trask pretty good. There's a little bit of a sack-a-palooza there, but he has some nice deep connections to Chris Godwin, who made a nice leaping catch over Jamel Dean for 30-plus yards. So, yeah, I think Baker, if he continues to just play turnover-free or at least limit those mistakes and continue the downfield explosive plays. We talked with Dave Canales earlier in the offseason, and he talked about the offense being body blow, haymaker. And if Baker can keep delivering those haymakers, he's going to set himself up for a good position to win that starting job.
And going back to the Friday preseason game, I think we all saw with Baker, it was a very efficient showing for him, 8 of 9, obviously, in the touchdown. But when it comes to Kyle Trask, I don't even know how to really evaluate the performance because I thought there was some good in there. There obviously was the pick. The pressure got to him a few times. He had a 20, 25-yard throw over the middle to Kokeep that was dropped. How did you evaluate that performance for Kyle Trask? Is he have a pathway you think to get back into this?
Yeah, so Kyle, and Coach Bowles mentioned it and just watching it, he was there with the same offensive line, same weapons out there. He had the same opportunities. I think, obviously, the heat index was at 106 at a 7 o'clock game start, so it kind of wore the guys down. And with Pittsburgh, throwing in fresh guys in there against that same line that had played that entire first half and into the second half, there were definitely some points where you could see guys were a little bit sluggish. Obviously, you mentioned the Kokeep drop. The pressure getting to him. One of those was definitely not on Luke Gedeke. Another one, Herbert just kind of got the inside shoulder on him and got to the quarterback. But again, it's a back and forth. He didn't have the same success, but I thought the throws, the reads that he were making, other than that interception where he just kind of held on to it and the safety read his eyes there. I thought it was still a good performance. Obviously, he didn't get the touchdown, but if you look at that situation, I think with Baker's touchdown, the corner just kind of timed it wrong. If he jumped a little bit earlier, that's a knockdown and potentially interception. So I think as nice as that play that was for Trey Palmer, that was still one of those throws that if you're throwing against the number one cornerback, that might be an interception in the end zone. So, there's positives and negatives from both of the guys. Like I said, I think Baker is probably starting to pull away a little bit. But again, we all really thought Baker was his job to lose in the first place. Trask has got a big opportunity this week, especially if the Jets are going to play some of their starters. Remember, this is their third preseason game after that Hall of Fame game, so we might see some more of those starters, maybe even an appearance by Aaron Rodgers this week as they start to tune up for the regular season. So Trask has got a big challenge ahead of him with that defensive line and those edge rushers that can get to the quarterback, and we'll see how things shake up. With only one practice now, the Bucs might play some more of their starters too, so we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. JC, come on. What are you on, Team Trask now? What am I? Did you bet
on
Trask?
Team...
Did you bet on Trask to be the starter? Come on, you're banging on Baker Mayfield for that perfect throw. Are you kidding me? Right over there with great anticipation where Trey Palmer comes right in. The perfect trajectory as an ex-quarterback. I'm taking umbrage with your, if he would have jumped later. Are you kidding me?
Listen,
that was
if that's Jalen Ramsey, that's probably a pick, I'm just saying. He's going up against the second-string cornerback third string cornerback. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers,
man.
they completely rehauled their defensive back. It was a beautiful catch. It was a good throw. I just think that
Great throw.
The timing against the starter might be a little bit different. You just catch the can of Sauce Gardner. He's probably coming down with that pick.
Well, listen, if it was Sauce Gardner, he probably would have gone somewhere else with the football. I don't know, but come on now, you got to give the guy credit
Right.
for making
No,
a throw.
it was a beautiful throw and catch. I'm not going to take it away from him. I'm just saying there's context to look at too. You can't just look at Trask's interception, and you can't just look at Baker's touchdown. I think you got to see how they ran the offense, how efficient they were. We don't know the play calls. You can look at the all-22 and kind of see what was going on and what they were trying to accomplish. But at the end of the day, we have to just discern from what we're seeing. And obviously it was an amazing catch. I thought it was a good throw, but I also rooted in reality. If that's a top cornerback, that's a tight window throw to make. He completed it, but I'm not sure against a number one quarterback, that's necessarily a completion and not a tip ball or an interception. Just my thoughts on it.
We can agree to disagree.
Let's shift gear. Let's talk about Luke Gedeke. Let's talk about Luke Gedeke because I feel like
we'll all agree on this one.
Well, I mean, I think in the moment we watched the game and we're like, oh, he's having an awful game, and then I saw immediately I was one of those guys, and then I saw the Josh Capo breakdown that he did on Pewter Report, and I'm like, okay, I understand now. There was more kind of things going on with some of those sacks that he allowed and everything, and you had just mentioned it, but. The fact that this was basically his second game playing right tackle in the NFL, and by the time he get to Minnesota, he will only have played 4 games, assuming that he plays the next 2 preseason games. Do you think that we have to be a little patient with Luke Gedeke, or do you think the Bucs can even afford to be patient with Luke Gedeke? Because if we get to week 1, Danielle Hunter's on the other side of the ball, and if he blows him up, do you think Todd Bowles needs to have a quick trigger in that situation, or do they even have a backup plan there?
I don't know if they do. I mean, if you look at the landscape, Eric Flowers went unsigned all last season, and he was a pretty decent tackle in his own right as a swing tackle provision and possibly a right tackle or guard, and he didn't even play. So, I don't see anyone on the market that can step up and make an immediate impact. I think they have to roll with Gedeke. The only potential move I can see them making, which is something they probably don't want to, is to maybe move Matt Fowler to that right tackle spot, then insert either a Robert Hainsey or Nick Leverett into that left guard spot, depending if Jensen starts the season and one of those guys isn't your starting center. So, I think you got to allow him to have those hiccups. I think this team, especially on offense, needs to be allowed grace until after the bye week. There's going to be a lot of moving parts. Again, everyone's still learning the defense. I mean, the offense, the installs are going pretty well, but, you're not getting these reps in preseason games with the starters because you can't afford injury, right? And we've seen that with quarterbacks not even playing in the preseason. And they're going to hold some of these guys out to make sure that there's no injuries or no nagging injuries that come up in these preseason games. So I think that first 4 weeks of the season, you got to give some grace to Gedeke, to Mauk, to the offensive line in general, to the quarterbacks, to the receivers. Everyone needs to have a little bit of grace there, and they really don't have another option to go to. Obviously, cut downs are going to happen. Maybe there's an option that comes up there. They're currently using Justin School and Brandon Walton, getting them reps at both sides of the tackle lines as that swing tackle. But I don't know how comfortable you feel about one of those guys stepping in and placing Gedeke. He's got more talent than both of those guys. I think he's just going to kind of ride it out and hope the improvement comes. Remember last year at left guard, he just faced a murderer's row of defensive tackles. Doesn't have that murderer's row type against the first 4 weeks of the season, but he's certainly going to be tested. And just got to give him a chance to figure out and continue to push through, and hopefully he turns into what Bucs fans hope is a above average right tackle for the offensive line and for the team.
J.C. Allen joining us here from the Pewter Report. What do you think about this slot corner starter? Is it going to be Delaney? Is it going to be Izzian? Is Zion McCullum kind of playing his way into it? Is he more an outside guy? I talked to Zion after the game, and I was impressed with something that he said. He said on that first play where he got burned for the touchdown, I'm in great position, but I hesitated. I hesitated at the moment when I should have jumped the ball. And he goes, and I missed the ball and the tackle. is I got to be. And he said later on in the game, I said, this is the time I got to get my head around. He pops his head around and gets the interception. So hopefully that was the moment where he said, I just, where I've got to play with and listen to my instincts and not hesitate. Where do you think that position battle is right now?
Yeah, I think Zion's more of an outside guy. I just don't see him as in this slot battle. As far as D. Delaney, he's obviously got the experience. He's also that guy that you can utilize in the slot. You can use him on the outside. Heck, you can even use him at safety if you need to. So I think their preference is that Izzian or Josh Hayes would step up into that level where they feel comfortable with them as the starter. I think if you're looking at those 2 or 3 guys in that competition, and even Bull says it, Izzian is probably the leader in the clubhouse right now. They really like what this kid brings. He's fast. He's intelligent. It reminds me of Antoine Winfield. I mean, I talked to D. Delaney after practice on Sunday, and he's like, we call him Little Antoine because that's kind of what his body frame is, his speed, his intelligence, and he is a perfect guy to be able to cover those quick slot guys in there. So I think they're really hoping that he wins the job. Certainly the competition for that is not over. There's several spots where the competition is still strong. Outside linebacker, wide receiver, tight end. But then they all have their work cut out for them. They're going to need to just string some practices together. But I think if you have to go right now, who's going to be that starter? I think you're looking at Izzian as the slot nickel cornerback when they open up on week 1.
All right, JC, good stuff, my man. Appreciate you all the time. Tell all the folks what they can get from Pewter Report and all the stuff you got coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. You always find our work over at pewterreport.com, Pewter Report on Twitter, all the socials. Pewter Report TV will be having breakdowns. We got Matty Matera and Adam Slavat. They're going up to Jets camp, so they'll be there for that and for the game. So make sure you're keeping it right there on our Twitter page for all that access and practice notes and stuff like that. You can find me at JC Allen NFL on Twitter for all your Bucs coverage. But guys, as always, thanks for having me on. Enjoy spending the time with you.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate it. Give a little bit more respect to those quarterbacks, will you? Come on, man. Come on. All right. Thank you, JC.
I got you. I'll talk to you soon.
I got you. All right. Let's welcome in our good friend Chris Lugo from Bay Area Modern Medical Center. What's up, Chris? How you doing, partner?
Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Good. Hold on. Stay there. We went a little too fast for nimble fingers over here.
Thank you, Nick.
How are you, partner?
I'm unbelievable. How are you guys doing?
Good. The Ryan Jensen story, which we have talked so much about, and it's not going well for Ryan Jensen. He's missed a couple days of practice now, and I think they may be reevaluating his situation as far as getting surgery or continuing. Hopefully, that the stem cells will heal him. But I'm guessing a lot of people in the medical community are watching this very closely.
100%. Yeah. I'm not surprised by this. I think you and I have chatted about that. I'm not overtly surprised. He's an athlete. He's not a Joe Schmo. He's not you. He's not me. He's not Nick. He's not someone who works 9 to 5. This guy who's got to be 100%. Good 5-6 days of the week when he's training, and when he's on his off days, probably the only day he doesn't have to be. But when you're running all 8 cylinders like that, I'm not too overtly surprised that he might need surgery.
Have you ever dealt with anybody that's gotten these stem cells and then it didn't work out for them and they've had to go that surgery route? Have you dealt with that directly before?
I have not. The vast majority of time, it's buying them time. And these are people that have gotten PRP. These are people who have gotten stem cells here in the United States. Those are ones who buy time 5-7 years down the line where they don't need surgery. And they're like, hey, look, I'm still not ready to go under the knife. I'm going to do it again for another 5 to 7 more years versus you're doing that cortisone shot, which is great. It's a Band-Aid. It's duct tape you're putting on a wound that you eventually got to rip off. That duct tape's going to hurt when it comes off. You can only do so much cortisone over your life, and it's got repercussions, right? It's going to raise your glucose. It's going to put a little stress on your adrenal glands. There's a whole slew of things. But when people don't see a rash breakout or they don't feel miserable at that point, they're like, it's got to be good, right? But it does cause more harm than good over time.
Yeah. So Chris is my primary care physician now, and I did my blood work a couple weeks ago, and we went over this Sunday,
Yeah.
and you spent an hour with me. By the way, thank you very much for your
You're
time.
welcome.
And it kind of strikes me. I am 60 years old. For the first 55 years of my life, I never had a doctor say, "Hey, let's go get your blood work done and look at what it tells us and direct your care, your preventative care, based on what's going on in your blood work." And it's like it's almost like, what the hell were they thinking? Like, this is absolutely I don't shouldn't be a groundbreaking approach, but it is, right? It's like most doctors don't do this. And so I wanted to kind of go through it and you explain to the folks why these numbers what these numbers tell you and how it can help you direct the plan of attack so you can prevent things that are going to happen in the future.
It's that stereotypical Western medicine. I wait for you to have something wrong so then I can fix.
Right.
Like we chatted about with the orthopedic surgeons, so they want to be able to do something. They're not going to recommend something else. Preventative care is different, right? We're not waiting for something the shoe to drop. We want to prevent that shoe from dropping. We want to be a functional, mature adult. Things that people like Nick aren't thinking about in their 20s that you should start thinking about. You should start paying attention to those old, frail people at the grocery store, at Walmart, that everyone wants to make fun of and post them on Instagram. But that could be you one day if you don't do that. And as I joke around with guys back in the day, it's like, hey, look, you take better care of your car than you do yourself. So, hey, let's look under the hood. And that's the purpose of the blood work, looking under the hood, exposing what's wrong. And let's get it fixed before, hey, you're broken down the side of the road and it's 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah. And these are things like heart attacks, diabetes, gout, all these things that you can detect in your blood work, prostate problems. Correct. So, and I don't, I'll waive my HIPAA rights here and talk about my specific situation. I mean, there are some concerns. We'll start with the triglycerides, right? So that's a number that is out of whack. So talk a little bit about what we're doing to alleviate that.
Yeah, so triglycerides. So the new lipid guidelines came out in 2019. Everyone in the world is on board except for the United States. Everybody wants to talk about good cholesterol and bad cholesterol, which are really bad terms to use because LDL really isn't a bad molecule. It's actually pretty good. When you get sick, it kind of helps as a hormone to modulate the inflammatory process. Total cholesterol, the only reason why we talk about total cholesterol because Big Pharma did all their research, your statins that a lot of your listeners are on. It's all based off of total cholesterol. So if I don't talk about total cholesterol, I can't put you on a statin drug. Triglycerides, okay, that's going to be talked about 75%. It's going to be diet. That's staying away from the big seven as we talk about. And then apolipoprotein B as in Bravo, that's the actual culprit shoving cholesterol into your artery walls. That's why it's more important because we found this over research over the years. Hey, this is the actual culprit. Not that total cholesterol is, but because total cholesterol is a count, including HDLs and LDLs, right? So we're going to talk about the actual culprit who's causing the issue. That's apolipoprotein B. And that's 75% exercise, 25% diet. I have patients all the time. Well, I play tennis. So I'm glad you're getting outside. I'm glad you're going for a walk. I'm glad you're playing for 30 minutes of tennis, but it's not really high functional tennis. You're just lobbing the ball back and forth. It's not very competitive like Djokovic does, right? Those guys are, they're playing hardcore. All right. Yeah. I'm glad you're active, but it's not weight training. It's not strength training. That is the key as we're getting older. You don't have to think that much when you're in your 20s and early 30s. You need to be thinking about that when you get in your 40s and 50s when bone loss can start taking place because of hormones.
And also my omega-3s, my fish oils were way down because I haven't been taking them lately. And so this is that was a number that jumped out at you. Tell us why.
Yeah, fish oil. So my favorite two supplements are going to be vitamin D and fish oil. Vitamin D has been associated with hypertension, obesity, diabetes, bad viral outcomes, wink, wink, COVID, but all viral outcomes, right? Because it's been actually researched that they will help with the virus. And then omegas. Omegas are huge too because that's going to help with your lipid profile, Okay, your apolipoprotein B, your triglycerides. And it's also going to help with those little aches and pains. It's an anti-inflammatory, so it's going to help with you so you're not getting that aches and pains in your knees, your shoulders so much. So when you get off the ground, you don't make that grunting sound so much. And look, these are players that it's like the guys up who are doing the film, right? So, oh shoot, I forgot his name. From the Lightning, who's been with the Lightning for years doing the film work. No, thank you, Nigel. Nigel's been with the Lightning for years, right? Julian Breezebaugh will tell you that team would not function at the top notch they are without Nigel being there doing all the filming. But he's a guy behind the scenes doing a lot of the work. That's vitamin D. That's fish oil doing things behind the work that, hey, years later, it pays off.
Yeah. And you can see in the blood work also certain markers that will say, okay, you might have an increased risk of prostate cancer or other things too. So talk a little bit about those particular ones and how important they are for preventative care.
Yeah, so PSA, prosthetic specific antigen, that's the blood work for the prostate. But as you get older, you need the old finger wave too. They go hand in hand like peas and carrots. But that gives us some information on what's going on with the prostate, right? Because an elevated PSA means a lot of different things. And actually, technically, it can be actually an age-dependent thing. So a guy comes in at 45 years old and younger, his PSA really and truly should be less than a 1.5. 55, 2.5, 65, 3.5, and then we let you float up to 4. But when someone's got an elevated PSA, what does it mean? It can mean a lot of different things. So that's the things that we need to sort out in the office visit. Hey, did you have some crazy sex the night before? Did you do anything you probably shouldn't have done? Hey, do you have any problems urinating? Is this a BPH thing, a large prostate? Or, hey, could this possibly be prostate cancer? Those are the things you got to sort out with them. So you can't hang your hat on that number going, oh, that means this, not technically. And that's why PSA gets a bad rap.
Well, any questions for Dr. Lugo this week?
I had it. This is an interesting one. I don't know if you can answer this, but I thought I'd bring it up to you. We were talking with Sal Palantonio the other day, and we were talking about kind of like the Bucks practicing and everything. And obviously, extreme heat is going on and everything. And he had a take, and you even followed this up with a lot of these guys. They think like they're getting used to the heat when they're practicing in the extreme temperatures, but at the end of the day, they kind of feel like they're just getting worn down more. And that kind of ends up affecting them over a 17-game season. Do you kind of agree with that kind of standpoint when you're in? Like, do you ever get used to the heat? Basically, is what I'm saying.
Would you practice them indoors or outdoors? I mean, or mix it up a little bit to what would be most effective on game day?
Right.
Born and raised in Tampa, it's just as hot as when I was a kid. The difference is these kids now are playing on artificial turf when they're outside. Okay, not that they're indoors, so they have indoor artificial turf. But outside, that artificial turf is hot as hell. It's retaining heat, 130 degrees, 140 degrees sometimes. Okay, we have more concrete in this city now than we did here when I was a kid. That heat now is retaining, so it feels hotter because we're retaining more. Yes, you listen to Channel 8 people. This is the hottest July on record. What's the temperature right now in New York? And what's the temperature right now in Michigan? It's in the 70s right now. Yeah. But 4 weeks ago, headline news was, we are burning down this earth. It's an inferno. Oh my God, we're going to die. And they're already in the 70s. One of my patients just got back from Michigan, played 3 rounds of golf in 4 days. He goes, I didn't even have a drop of sweat on me. Okay. Because it was beautiful weather.
Yeah.
Well, you guys know it. I know it. We love playing teams here in the fall here when it's warm outside because they're used to playing in the cold. So I think my personal professional opinion is we get used to the heat, training in the heat. You look at our guys when we go play in the wintertime, Nick, our guys are bundled up. They're freezing their ass off. They're in the heaters, right? When you got other people in Green Bay and Detroit and these guys in Denver, these guys are playing like it's no big deal. Right? They're used to playing in the cold. We're used to playing in the heat. We mitigate heat risk. They mitigate cold risk. I think it's something you get used to over time. You get used to, like, it's strong breeze outside and I get cold. Why? Because I'm used to it being warm outside.
Right.
Plain and simple.
So you don't think it wears them down if you're constantly depleting your hydration on a daily basis. But, Jeff Fain, who played for the Bucks, told me I never got used to it. I just got tired on Sunday because I was practicing outside all week.
Correct.
Because he had an indoor facility in New Orleans, and we practice indoors during the summer. It just, you feel better on Sunday because you're not depleted all week. I don't know.
No, I agree. I think it wears you down. I agree with that. But I think the guys and the trainers are very good at mitigating those heat exhaustion, the heat strokes, people like to call that stuff.
Yeah.
They're doing their best job on mitigating that risk, keeping them hydrated, keeping them those electrolytes repleted. And I think we take advantage of that when we play these teams in October, November, when it's still a little warm for us. And these guys they don't know what to do when they're playing up in the north and they're freezing their ass off. They're coming down here and they're whipped because they haven't played in the heat in a while. We're used to it. So yes, it will wear you down. I agree.
All right, partner. Well, thanks for the information. Thanks for the time you spent with me. If people want to get in there and have you spend an hour with them on their blood work they're not going to get from their regular doctor. How do they reach you?
Yeah. Hey, look, if you want to get in and out here quicker, I can. But it's just one of those things that I like going line by line and explaining why we're doing what we're doing. That's the most important thing. Hey, everything looks good. Have a nice day. I don't say that stuff. So it's what I do. And this is my passion. That's the difference. The best way to get a hold, go to the website, BAMMC.com, click book online. You'll see the schedule or call the office, 844-789-2266.
All right, partner. Have a good week. Thank you again for your service. I know you got to go play Army next week, so thank you for your service.
I love every minute of it. It's always fun.
All right, partner. Thanks. Chris
Take care, guys.
Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. All right, that'll do it for today's festivities. We'll be back tomorrow. Rays and Giants tonight. I don't know who's pitching tonight. I think it's
boy, do we ever
Zach
know?
Littell?
Do we ever know anymore?
No, I think it's probably
it is Zach Littell.
Zach Littell tonight. So hopefully we'll have another great outcome. We'll be back tomorrow to tell you all about it and talk some more Bucks and NFL football as well. Have a great day, everybody.